Okay. Wow, so many messages. I have so much support. Guys, you mean the world to me. You just enjoy all the perks of following an unpopular niche streamer when like uh, every your message is being read and you can get an answer to every question, unlike there is like a wall of messages um, that nobody will like never read. Anyway, let's start. Advent of Code with OCaml with Jane Street advertisement. They didn't pay me for this ad, they paid Advent of Code, but what a way to start. So yeah, I logged in. So besides logging in and besides configuring OCaml on my machine, I haven't done anything. So let's try to solve the first day. So today is December 3rd. 3rd, yes. So there are already 3 tasks being released. I've never solved Advent of Code before, just content warning. So I don't know what we're going to see. Yeah, let's try to solve it. First task. So there's some description, example input, and I need to provide answer, as I understand. So which is nice, so that's why I can use any programming language I want. I can locally compute the answer, input it here. Okay, let's read the task description. Day 1, trebuchet. Trebuchet, do I pronounce it correctly? Anyway, something is wrong with global snow production. Oh, some actually really relevant news, like trying to bring attention to global warming, which is nice. And you've been selected to take a look. I like it. The elves have even given you a map on it. They've used stars to mark the top 50 locations that are likely to be having problems. So I see. So back in the university uh, days, like when we did competitive programming, it was big. There was this like theme of tasks where there's some story behind the tasks, and apparently there's only one relevant sentence somewhere in the end where you what are you actually want to solve, but um, we need to go through the backstory, I guess. Kind of makes it interesting. So you've been doing this long enough to know that to restore snow operations, you need to check all 50 stars by December 25th. Okay, some experience. Um, collect stars by solving puzzles. 2 puzzles will be made available on each day in the advent calendar. Okay. Okay. This is news to me. So apparently it says like 1, but there are 2 puzzles here. So from what I heard, like you solve one puzzle and you get the second part afterwards, like a secret continuation. Okay. Um, anyway, you try to ask why they can't just use a weather machine, not powerful enough, and whether they even sending you the sky, and why your map looks mostly blank. Okay, blah blah blah. When you realize that the elves are already loading you into trebuchet, please hold. Okay, so that's why it's called trebuchet. So you're just sent in the trebuchet to solve the problem. Okay. As they're making the final adjustment, they discover that their calibration document, your puzzle input, has been amended by a very young elf who was apparently just excited to show off her art skills. I bet they used AI art skills. Consequently, the elves are having trouble reading the values on the document. Okay, finally, we're getting, as I said, just one sentence. The newly improved calibration document consists of lines of text. Each line originally contained the specific calibration values that the elves now need to recall. On each line, the calibration value can be found by combining the first digit and the last digit in that order to form a single 2-digit number. For example, okay, here's example input. In this example, the calibration values of the 4 lines are 12, first digit, second, 38, okay, 15, 1, 77. Okay, nice edge cases, so there is 1 digit, it should be the second and the last. Adding this together produces 142. Consider your entire calibration document. What is the sum of all of the calibration values? I see. So we need to write a program that basically does this. Read the text, like multiple lines of strings, and gets in every string the first number and the last one. the digit, the first digit and the last digit, combines it to a single two-digit number, converts to a number, and finds a sum. Pretty easy. And find the sum. Okay, this is our test output. We can test it. Apparently, this is like a big output, like the real one that we will need to solve eventually. But let's start writing something test on our test output, and then we will get on the puzzle input. Does it sound like a plan? The question, how will be record the stream? Yes, the stream will be recorded. I'm not doing anything locally. I just put a checkbox in a Twitch saying like, please record and upload on the streams, and then they will be available on Twitch for 7 days. But then I'm going to edit and upload them to YouTube. Probably I'll cut the first 20 minutes with my choppy audio when I'm trying to figure out how to enable video and audio. This is probably not going to get into the final production, so be quick to watch this 20 minutes of embarrassment. But anyway, okay, let's write a program that does some processing. Sounds not too difficult. At least we don't need to write some graph algorithms or whatever. So yeah, let's start. So if you've been watching me last time and you remember when we were trying to install OCaml on Windows, I actually finished doing this. If you've also been following me on X, formerly known as Twitter. So yeah, so we are going to use WSL. WSL is like Windows subsystem for Linux, and like you open PowerShell and you just type WSL tilde to start WSL tilde to start a Windows subsystem like in a shell in home directory. It will take some time. Probably it needs to start the entire distribution, but anyway, here's my local directory. It has some stuff created by default and some directory for advent of code. Okay, let's delete it. Let's do everything properly. So first, let's create an OCaml project. We can use Dune for that, but like if we try to see Dune help, we will see that there is no such command Dune installed. So like by default, OCaml installs in a non-invasive way, so you don't have it by default. Probably that's why nobody writes it. People just installed it and they forgot because they have it OCaml, they don't know how to use it. So you need to run this command eval $like opam-env. So this will basically bring the entire OCaml toolchain into the scope. So opam is like a OCaml package manager. I guess this is what opam stands for. Pretty easy to guess. And this will populate some environment variables to get OCaml. So now, if we do Dune help, we actually see the help. We can finally get some help. So let's create project. And we are going to use Dune init project command, and then we will give a name of the project. Let's say advent of code 2023. Okay, entering directory, successfully initialize. So I can see that now I have this advent of code directory, and it's already like created some directories and files inside. So I'm going to use VS Code. So if you are a NeoVim, Emacs, Vim, Helix, Sublime, Notepad fan, you might not like this choice, but for me it was the easier one to get set up, and also I use it at work. So yeah, we can open it in VS Code, and we can see that we have this file, Dune project. The Dune project describes all your projects, like some automatically generated stuff. We don't need it. I'll probably put all the solutions on GitHub. So before putting on GitHub, I will maybe update some stuff here. But for now, we just have main, just print end line hello world. But it's underscore, but there is like red underscore line. It says no config found for file. Try calling Dune build. Okay, so this is what it does. Let's try to do Dune build, you see instant finishing. It doesn't take a second to compile projects that doesn't have anything. Okay, still, okay, let's try to reload the file, usually it works. Nice. So now we can actually see that we have this nice documentation and the type of the function, pretend line, and actually, you know, let's open terminal right here. Terminal. Okay, create new terminal. Okay, so if you type Dune exec, by the way, let me know if your font is enough. Maybe I will actually need to increase it a little bit. Okay, if we type Dune exec and the name of our executable, then we should be able to see the result. So how do you get the name of the executable? In this like Dune file, you will see executable and its name AOC223. Okay, so let's type AOC2023. Okay, it's executed and we see hello world. Nice. So all good. Let's try to solve advanced code. So we actually, let's see here we have directories lib, test, and bin. So we don't need library. I'm planning to have every single like solution as a separate self-contained executable, so no library, no use, just to have it like self-complete code. So let's just remove the library and test. Who needs test? We are writing in OCaml. We are already way ahead the entire industry. So let's remove test as well. Okay, just ended up with bin. And if we try to build now, it will see that it will complain about libraries AOC2023, so there's no such library. And because like we're not using this library, let's just delete this stuff. Okay, now we will have self-contained small minimalistic project. Question: what extensions do you have in VS Code for OCaml? So I actually have only one extension, which is the OCaml platform extension. This is the official default one. If you just search for OCaml, there will be several extensions like marked as deprecated, no longer maintained, and this is the one. So you just get it and it works actually pretty good. So I've seen worse, let's say it. I wouldn't complain, it's not too bad. The video is viewable on my phone after you increase the font in portrait mode. Oh, nice. Nice. People actually watch on phone, which is really great. Okay, and this is our main code. So yeah, let's try. Okay. Still no one complains that I have directory view on the left. Okay, let's hide it to not trigger people. We'll do proper file naming in the future, but for now, just avoid it. So okay, in OCaml, like it's a strict language. It doesn't really have an entry point to your program. So every top level evaluation that just runs some functions will be evaluated when you start a program. I'm not entirely sure in which order when you have multiple files and you try to run program for the first time, so multiple expressions are going to be evaluated. I'm not sure, maybe we have some OCaml experts in the chat and then they can clarify. I still want to read about this, but basically in our small little program we have only one statement saying that this print and line function, like as you can see, it's a function that takes a string and returns a unit. So a unit is like a type with only one value. This is like round brackets. So it's like a tuple, like a zero element tuple. So it doesn't have, it has only single value, not many meaningless values. So when we run print and line, we return this value and then we just kind of pattern match on it. We can like just ignore it, like don't care, put underscore, like we don't care what print line returns, and it will still work. Yeah, but usually it's considered a good practice that the entry point in OCaml is that this like let unit is whatever this program returns. So getting back to our problem, what we will need to get this input from somewhere. I can just hardcode it as a string in my file, but you saw that it can get pretty big. I don't really want to hardcode it, so I want to put this in some file. Let's say I copy it. I'll create file, say it input as good old days, and I'll just copy the content of this file here. So in my program, I'm going to do three things. Read from the file, solve the puzzle, and then output. I think it's enough to output to the terminal because it's just probably going to be one number or one small line. So we are going to write our program in okay. I'm using also Vim extension, so it might not always work as intended. Bear with me. Oh, more camel people. Amazing. Actually, I have 11 viewers right now, which is just insane. Anyway, back to our solution. So we are going to follow like functional core imperative shell programming pattern, where you just have all your side effects at the boundaries of your program and all like pure logic inside. So as I mentioned, we are going to just read the file. This is going to be my local function, so I'm kind of trying to just write somewhat of pseudocode, and then during compilation it will be refined. So we will read the file called input txt. Then this is like a pipe operator. So this function will basically pipe the output of this function read file to my next function. I'll call it solve. And then we are going to print it. So this function needs to return, this function print line just it takes a string. So this is basically the core of my function. I'm going to read the file, I'm going to solve the problem, and I'm going to print the output. So let's start by writing these functions. So in OCaml, all functions needs to be defined before they're going to be used, unfortunately. So like in good old C, C++. So let's do read file function. This function is going to take file path, like name of the file, and return the content of this file, like as a full content. So I can actually write the type signature of this function here. In OCaml, you don't have to write type signatures. The types are inferred, but just for my sanity, for my sake, just to make the compiler useful and just to help me keep track of what's going on, I'm going to write function. So it should take file path, but in the simplistic standard library OCaml API, file path is just a string. So we're going to write a function of type from string to string, and this function is going to read from a file. Okay, actually, let's write it this way. I'm going to take a path, which is a string, and then this entire thing is a string. So it's slightly different way to write the same song, because I actually need this path variable name. Okay, so because in my job, I just write markdown files, have meetings, talk to business people, stakeholders, take meeting notes, write design specs. I actually don't write OCaml that much, so I don't know how you read from a file in OCaml. But fortunately, we have ChatGPT. No, I'm kidding. We are going to do it like properly. Just going to Google OCaml how to read from a file. And wow, again, this is not a paid advertisement, but there is official documentation in the OCaml website about file manipulation, where you can actually read how to read from files, no pun intended. So you can basically give it a read. It's actually pretty short, so like with a few sentences, quick example. Maybe there is a better guide, more detailed, like not better, but it's maybe more detailed. Basically, in OCaml, you have this concept of channels, like in channel, out channel. You create in channel to read, and you output to out channel. And what does it says? Let's look at the example. Like I don't need to read this stuff. So okay, file example.dat, open out. Okay, printed line. So these examples use functions from the module, but you see this like open in flush. Unless those functions are directly imported by default, like usually you need to import them. But anyway, okay, from my experience, I know that this function should be in the in channel module. So again, you Google OCaml channel module, and you will get the link to the documentation of the in-channel library. Okay, finally, we are getting somewhere. It would be nice to maybe improve this page to mention these modules, but anyway. So there is type T in channel, and basically you have standard input of type T, which is just in channel, as we can see, and we have several functions like open binary, open text. So we get, I guess, a path to a file, and then we'll get a channel. So we get file path to get a channel. Then we can do some functions. So input, so they get a channel, and you get like input char or input byte or input line, like really input string. Interesting. Oh, input all. So I'm going to use input all. I want to just read the entire file as a just string. If file is huge, like multiple gigabytes of size, this is probably not a good idea to store it entire as a memory, unless you have lots of gigabytes. Otherwise, as it's really small, we don't care that much about performance. We just want to get stuff done pretty quickly. So I'm going to use this function. Like usually there is a problem when you just open file, maybe exception or whatever. Let's still try to do properly. I'm going to use this function like with open binary, because we don't care about line breaks and whatever. We give it file path. We give a function that does something from a file and returns the result, and it will return the result of this function, and it will automatically close the file. It should handle all the exceptions ideally. I don't know what's the intention, but anyway. With open bin, and then we will get input all. So there's a function to read a file content from a path. So will be this in channel. So I don't need to import any module. I can just type the name of the module and wherever I want to be fully qualified. And I get with open bin. Oh, there are some explanations about pattern C, which is really nice. Okay, with open bin, we specify path, which is our path, and here we need to we need to pass a function which is like should really read stuff. Input all, not forgot the name. Input all. Okay, what's type in the module. First input all. Okay, so at least it doesn't complain. So this is how we read the entire content of the file in OCaml. Let's try this function solve. So it takes input and returns a string. Well, in that case, I'm not going to write type as a string. So let's just test what we write, that we actually like didn't write anything stupid or bollocks. Maybe I just hallucinated all this language. This OCaml language doesn't exist. I'm just trying to do stuff really differently. So let's just for now just run input. We didn't process anything. Let's just make sure that we can actually read from a file. Okay, you see, it worked. It read from a file input txt, which is our file, and it produced the content of this file. Okay, so at least we can read from a file, and we don't need to worry about this. Now we need to solve this problem. Get back to the problem. So the problem is that we get lines, and we need to get the first and the last digit. We need to combine them into a single number, and we need to find sum of all. So this is actually a great example of a problem to solve in a functional style. So let's try to do this. So we actually kind of need to do some steps. So this is what I usually prefer to do. Is that it's try to think from a smaller parts how you can decompose this big problem. Okay, it's not really that big, but let's try to decompose it into smaller problems, smaller steps. Oh, nice! I got a new follower. I think we're doing great. We even have more viewers. Anyway, we're running short of time, but let's try to solve at least this problem for now. I guess it took longer to set up all the environment, and we will finish after we solve this problem. Okay, so we have this big problem. Let's decompose into smaller parts. So what are the small parts? So obviously we have this just text, but we need to process each line individually. So we need to split it into lines, all the stuff. Then we actually need from each line, we need to extract the first and the last digit, and we need to combine them into a number, and then we need to find sum of all numbers. So we kind of can make we can describe like 3 steps, like split into lines, find the first and the last digit and combine them into a number, and add all numbers. Okay, so these are our steps that we need to do. Well, because of how my brain works, I find it sometimes really challenging to do difficult tasks, like you need to dive into them. So it just helps me to decompose into smaller problems, and maybe it also helps me to start with the easy problem. Like among the steps, the easiest one is to just add all numbers. So just to get a feeling of achievement that we did something, let's try to find a simple function, to write a simple function which just adds all numbers. Let's call this function sum. So this function will actually work. Okay, all numbers from where? Like one of the standard data structures in OCaml is list. It might not be the most efficient, but should be enough in our case. So our sum function will take a list of integers and will return a single integer, sum of all integers. So I'll write this as this. So it's a list parameterized by integer, and it returns a single int. So there is no standard function to find sum of all elements in the list in OCaml, but fortunately we can write it on our own. There is this concept of fold. Again, let's do again OCaml list module. You just Google all the stuff. Maybe there is a better way to do this stuff, but this is like a module that contains all the functions to work with lists, and we need where this, oh my god, I don't know which of the section corresponds. Basically, we need a function to combine all the elements in the list into single. We need some kind of aggregation, and aggregation is like this fold function. So fold, it's like a big concept, but basically you can see this really terse, really concise definition of this function. So this is like a function that tells you that you get a list of elements, you get some initial accumulator, and you get the function how to combine the current element of the list with accumulator to produce accumulator, and then you will get accumulator. And there is like a short description. So if you run fold left with function f, sum init, and list elements b1, b2, b3, and so on, bn, this will be the result. So you apply function to initial accumulator and be 1, then you will apply function to the resultant be 2, and so on until the last. So basically it's kind of like an iterator, like a for loop, but allows. So actually using this function, it's pretty easy to write functions that finds sum of all elements in the list. We can do list fold left. We need to pass function and initial accumulator. So if our function is addition and the initial accumulator is 0, then we'll basically add all numbers of the list to this 0. Let's see if I can do this. So yeah, basically this is a function that finds the sum of all elements in the list. We just fold. Actually, if I do utop is kind of like a REPL in OCaml. If I just load the module, I think I should be possible for me to find. Again, I forget how to do this utop, how to load module. We don't need dependencies, but anyway, except necessary cookies only. Okay, load or use. The command is use. Okay, we do use bin main. Does it have the completion? Okay, syntax error. It needs to be string. Use bin. Okay. It actually runs and solves. So if I find sum of elements, like let's say 157, so the sum should be 13. Double column. Okay, so yeah, this function works. So this is how we can quickly verify that our little function works. Okay, we got the step 3. Okay, let's do the second one, split into lines. So this might be a little bit more challenging. So we need some function to split string into a list of lines. Let's see if there is anything in the standard library. Actually not sure if there is a function. So str is regular expression, string is strings. Let's see. If we don't find anything in the standard library, we can Google. Maybe someone already wrote a function. Starts with and with contains. Yeah. Oh, there is like split on char. Split on char is list of all possibly empty substrings of s that are delimited by the character set. Okay, sounds like this is what we want. We can just split by line break, and we will split by lines. So let's write this function. We will get like an order of solution. Let lines. This will be our function, which takes like a string and returns us a list of strings split by line break. Oops. Unfortunately, Shift Enter opens a new utop terminal, so I sometimes mistype it. Okay, we have lines, so let's see, string split. How did it know that I want split on char? Like, is it really too smart? Like, does it hear me? I know I'm literally saying stuff in the microphone, but like, is it because I copied in my terminal, like in my code base? How does it know that I want split on char? Anyway, does it work like this? And yes. Okay, let's try to see if this function actually works. We're going to reload module again. We are going to say lines foo /n bar. We need to have 2-element list. Okay, it works. Okay, turned out it wasn't that difficult. So we've done this easiest part of this task. So let's finally write the actual challenging part of this task. Like find the first and the last digit and combine them into a number. Okay, So we will need to do this for every single line. So we are going to repeat this operation for every line. But to simplify stuff, let's just say we are working with a simple line. So we will take, we will write a function like decode, which will take a single string. Let's call it line, a single string, and it will return us an integer number. So in proper world, this should be some error handling because you're not guaranteed to have like proper input, like saying, but here we are guaranteed to get input, so this kind of simplifies our life. We don't need to worry about invalid cases too much. So we'll write this function decode. We will just get the first digit in a line and the second and the last one. So I already see multiple ways to write this function. So you can go through entire string to get track of digits. You can just try to extract all digits and just get the first and last element of the list. So there are multiple ways to do this. Some of them less efficient, some of them more efficient. But let's try to write somewhat efficient. Let's at least try to write not too bad code. It doesn't matter in this task, but just to prove that programs can be functional and performant. So our algorithm will be like, it's not really difficult algorithm, but we will do two things. We will try to go on the string from the left to find the first digit, and we will stop. And then we will, in like another loop or in another string traversal, we will try to go from the right towards the left, and we will find the first digit, we will stop. So worst case, we will traverse the same string twice if it's only one digit, but we can be slightly more efficient if we just stop. So nice thing that we can do is we can actually define like local helper functions in OCaml. So inside this main function, I can just let's say find first. I can define helper functions, and then I'm going to use them. So find first will take an index e, and it will return us a digit. It's kind of int, and turns a digit of the first digit basically. And but we are working with a string, so string is a character. So we also need to convert this character to proper integer number. But anyway, let's just return it. So find first, and we will. So this will become our function. So similarly, we will implement function find last, and so on. So how are we going to do this? So we are going to just traverse the string from left to right, and we will see if it's the current symbol is a digit. So basically, let first digit find first 0. So we will start from index 0, and if the first symbol is a digit, then we will stop. Otherwise, we will continue with the next index. So I know there are for loops in OCaml, so you can actually write proper for loop, but we are trying to solve programs in functional style slightly different, and I'm used to this kind of stuff anyway. So again, let's just try to see if line, so our string is line, if line at position E, I think you just use this, or a blind. How do you get step unit? Okay, I forget how to get camel get character by index. Wait, why there is no okay, s dot e. Okay, anyway, it was correct. Now we just need to like write a function that checks if a character is a digit. Again, let's go to char module. Let's hope there is such function. Okay, there is no such function in the standard library. I'm getting spoiled by the Haskell standard library. Okay, let's write our own helper function. Let is digit. It takes a char and returns boolean by saying if it's a digit. So the digit is if a function it's like the character is digit if it's like one of the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. So if it's one of those characters, we can do like pattern matching on all of them, but we can utilize that fact that characters actually go in the sequential order in like ASCII table or maybe even in Unicode. So we can try to do something like this. 0 is less than equal C, and C is less than equal than 9. So basically if our character between the symbols, then it's character. So again we have this nice little function. So we see if is digit, if this character is digit, then we will just return it. And we actually need to convert this character to digit. Actually, there is also no function to convert character to digit. Anyway, there is this function code which can return the ASCII code of the argument. So let's write proper function to digit which takes character and returns integers, the integers that represents the digit. And what we're going to do, we're just going to do char code of C, and we're going to structure code of 0. So this is like a simple function on how to convert a single character to int, like to digit. Again, there are many safer ways, but we know that it's already. So let's return to digit of line.p. Otherwise, it's functional. OCaml is a functional programming language, and both if and not both, but if should have both branches. Then in else. So if our current character is a digit, then we just convert to digit and return it. Otherwise, we need to continue with the next index. And the easiest way to do this is just call our function find first, but with the next index. So we just call find first with e plus 1. Again, this function might crash in general case because there might be no digit, but we are guaranteed from the input value to have a digit, so let's not worry about it. Okay, we see an error saying that unbound value find first. So the compiler doesn't see this find first function because I call it recursively. So this is like important feature of OCaml. If you want to have a recursive function, you need to specify explicitly that the function is recursive. And how you do it is by putting the rec keyword after the let. So it's like let rec. We have it's like recursive functions that finds the first digit. Okay. So this is basically what we do, and we just need to do the same with like last. So we just copy paste and we just change some stuff. Find last. We go in backwards. So instead of going from like +1, we go -1. Everything else is the same. And our first digit is we find first starting from 0. And our last digit is we find last. So you see we are starting from the right position, but we are going backwards. So we need to start from string length of our line. But I think we also may need to subtract 1, because as you can see, like the string I index starting from 0. So the first element will have index 0, the second element will have index 1, and the last element will have the length of the string length -1. So we even have a sentence like an index is in the range 0 and -1. So unless there is a function to get like index of the last element, we just need to do this by our head. So we just start from the last What? Okay, we have first digit and the last digit, and basically our result, our like final number, it will be like the first digit represents of tens, and the last digit is just like this. So we can just do first digit multiplied by 10 plus last digit. This is how we extract decode digits from single line. Again, let's try to test this function. We might write complete bollocks here. So if I just copy this, let's say, and I run decode on this function, we should get 12. Okay, we get 12. Let's do some more testing. So here we should get 38. Index out of bounds. Interesting. So here it doesn't work. Really mysterious. What's happening? So it worked in the first. Okay, we managed to mess up even this small and simple function. Well, if there was an OCaml debugger, I would debug this problem, but because there is no, we are going to do it good old old-fashioned way. So let's see if it's the function that first digit failed. So here we just see a column. If it's not first digit, if we see this line, because OCaml will get the value, then it means that we haven't found the first digit. Otherwise, the second digit failed. Oops. Index out of. Okay, we saw first digit, so actually find last failed. Interesting. Okay, let's try to do print from the module. Print and see on which iteration our index fails. Is it the last one or 0, or somehow we just get... Oh, okay, this is a problem with copy pasting. You see, I copy pasted everything else, but I forgot to change the recursive call from find first to find last. Then this shouldn't pass code review. It's time to say that if this was implemented properly with iterators and proper abstraction, then this would never happen. Damn. Functional programming did save us from error. You still need to have some tests. Okay, now we see. Okay, let's try to do a couple more tests. You see, testing is important. Without tests, how would we know this function doesn't work? Okay, 15 sounds correct. And let's do the last one with single digit. Okay, 77, so everything works. And yeah, we have all the pieces we need. We implemented all the stuff. Now we just need to combine it in our input. So what we do? Okay, caps lock, I don't need caps lock. We do lines of the input. So we split our input into lines. Then we convert each line into digit. So we use the list map function, we apply the code to every element of the list. So this way we convert every string to a digit, and then when we get a list of integers, we just find sum of all numbers. So this is our solution. Split into lines, decode every line by finding first and last, and find all the numbers. Okay, here, oh, thanks for the following. Okay, one final problem. So the print end line function, it expects a string to print, so it can only print a string. But we are returning an integer, so our functions find some integer. So there's a simpler solution. Let's, instead of using print end line, let's use printf with a print function, and we will just was it like /d? Okay, let's add /n %flush just for sure. Yeah, don't ask questions. This is how we print a number in OCaml. Nothing to see here. Okay, let's try to run our program. Okay, 142. Let's compare it with the result. 142. Okay. We see that it actually like produces this result on the final. So what, folks? Are we ready to run it on the final function and find the result? What do you think? Should we test more? Does it look solid? Are you still here? Why doesn't want to install? Okay, let's do paste. Okay, 1000 lines. 1000 lines, cool. When you copy paste some huge random string, I don't know, like crypto wallet or advent of code input, basically the same thing. Let's just check that the first and the last line is the same. It probably really rares, it will be cut in the beginning. So 9 whatever this is, 9 whatever this is, and the last line is 42 7 13 4 4. Okay, 42 7 4 4. Okay, file looks legit, so let's run it. So this is the number that we get, 54953. Let's see if it's correct. Who knows? Maybe we'll need it more. No, that's the right answer. Congratulations. Yeah, we solved it. You're one gold star closer to restoring some operations. Continue to partner. Okay. So I think we are running out of time, folks. But yeah, we'll stop here. Hope it will be valuable, even if it was just one task. I will share the solution on GitHub afterwards. And yeah, I'll probably solve some more tasks offline. Maybe I'm going to share code, so keep in touch. Maybe next week I can do stream as well. Maybe I'll like try to go through tasks and maybe I'll try to solve them, and we will solve the most interesting one, something else. I'll also hope to figure out our audio and video, so at least we'll have some more quality here. But anyway, thanks for watching.